Well, hello, let's try it again. We're gonna try going live. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Good Knit Kisses. I'm your host, Kristen, and we are going to do a live tutorial demonstration. I was on YouTube trying to do this earlier, and an update from YouTube happened today, and apparently that update doesn't work. So, moving on. I hope you are joining me from over there, but if you're not, you'll see it later. We're going to upload this onto YouTube later for everyone to see. And welcome, everyone. Welcome to Good Knit Kisses, where I hope you can be welcome and stitch your love and love your stitches. And I just totally fumbled that up. Anyway, I'm here to teach you about loom knitting and needle knitting, crochet, and more. But today we're just doing needle and loom knitting, and I'm trying to show you how to do the stitch conversion from, this is the needle knit, this is just a little stitch marker. This is the linen stitch on needles and converting it straight over to the knitting loom. Now, if you are a loom knitter, you have you may have seen actually several videos. I really did not know that there were so many out there, but someone asked me a question on it, and theirs was curling last night, and I said that stitch is not supposed to curl. It's supposed to be flat and dense like this. You know, this is not curling, right? I mean, it's bending because I'm holding it, but it's like a flag, right? So I wanted to show you how to do it on the needles and show you how to do it on the loom. I went and looked up the video reference that she was referencing, and there was a whole row of E-wrap in there, which is a twisted knit stitch. It's a stocking knit stitch that will curl. And I'm like, no, honey, no. Let's fix this. I want you to love what you're making. So yes, the linen stitch. There are two videos out there that I think do a good job. However, they need something at the front end, the back end to kind of sort of explain. And I think it would be good to see it with the needle stuff and the loom together. The first one is with Vintage Storehouse. She's got a lot of great videos just straight up on the stitch. And but she doesn't do all the things. I mean, she may have a full tutorial on some things, but I think she does just as straight up stitches and not casting on and everything. Then the other one is Kimberly Kerrigan, and Kimberly did something really cool. Hey Jennifer, I see you jumping on. Hey, Kimberly did something really cool where you slip with the yarn in front on this stitch, where you don't have to, if you're familiar with loom knitting, slip with the yarn in front. A lot of times what we have to do is you have to pick up that loop and put it down and lay it down and then put this back down again. You don't have to do that with Kimberly's little hack. So it's the same stitch, it's the same slipping and stuff. It's just a little hack. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Welcome everyone. I'm going to say hi before we jump on in. I'm so glad that you are here. This is like our little magic mirror time. Hey Bridget, Drew, I'm so glad to see you. Hey Joanne and Ada. Hey Lexi and Angie and Mickey and Liz. Hey love. Hey, yes, the linen stitch. Hi Veronica. And Heather, Cassie, nice to see you too. Hi, Iris and Nora. You caught me. Jennifer says, I want to learn this. I tried with yellow looms from Authentic Knitting Board, but my scarf is all curly. Did you try the linen stitch? You probably just did a stocking knit stitch, and that's okay. So if you're familiar with knitting looms, if very familiar or least familiar, everyone has heard of or seen the E-wrap stitch. The E-wrap is what normally you see people kind of wrapping around. I'm going to focus on my hands in just a second, but I want to kind of talk while we're having people jump in. So the E-wrap stitch kind of just goes around and around and around. Okay, that stitch is way too loose and way too... It actually crosses like a Y, and you're supposed to have your stitches line up like an actual V, and it makes it too stretchy. And so what I want you to do is try and do U-wrap stitches or true knit stitches instead of just the E-wraps all the time. But if you do all E-wraps all the time, what it does is it curls like a stocking, like hose. Did you ever put on pantyhose? Is everyone old enough to wear pantyhose at one point? It rolls, right? It's called a stocking knit or stocking stitch. And if you only do that and you never do a purl stitch, you will have things roll. Okay. So that's probably what you did, Jennifer. Actually though, I think you will love this one. You can still do the E-rep on this one, but there was an extra row being done on the person who is having a problem with it. So you can do the E-wrap or you can do the U-wrap knit that I'm going to show you, but there's the slipping of stitches and it's really cool. I'm going to flip down. We're going to do the live demo. And let me prepare my camera. And Jennifer, that sounds like what happened. Yeah. Hey, Cassid. Oh, I'm sorry you had a rough day. I hope it gets better soon. I'm glad that you're glad I'm on. I was having a rough time with getting on YouTube a few minutes ago, and I was very frustrated, and their update was messed me up. Anyway, all right, let me flip the camera, get some things prepared, and we'll see you in a second. All right, let me turn the light on. Excuse me. Okay. Getting my notes ready here. Hold on one moment. Okay. I kept breaking up. Cassid said, so you tried to get me on YouTube, right? All right, let's get low here. This is better. All right. So here is my, the two things we're working on today. The tools of the trade are, you've got a loom. I'm doing it on small just so you can see. And then we've got our pick, and then these are our needles. Now, this is not blocked. And honey, I was doing this at the hairdressers. Do they still say hairdressers? I was getting a cut and color by my stylist. And anyway, so my stitches are not necessarily even. By the way, on knitting loom, they're always really nice and even. So this is what it looks like on the knitting loom. And this is what it looks like on the needles. I was a little tight on my needles, but it is a dense, flat knit fabric. Okay, it kind of looks woven, right? This is the right side here, and this is the wrong side. Okay, so we are going to work this up. I want to show you what it looks like with the knitting needles, even if you're a loom knitter. So just hold aside. Now, these are size US 15 needle, which is a 10 millimeter. And then this is what we call an extra large gauge. It's a 3/4 inch spacing between the pegs here. Both of these, either an extra large gauge XLG or and 3/4 or the US 15 10 millimeter, both can use a bulky US super bulky 6 weight. Okay, so those use the same thing. All right, so that's just a lesson in of itself. So that's what I'm using on both of them so you can see. All right, so here we go. This is the needle version. It is a 2-row repeat. Okay, this is the right side repeat here. So I'm on the right side. So I'm going to knit the first stitch. Okay, and then we're going to slip one with the yarn in front. Okay, so we're going to slip with the yarn in front. So we have to put the yarn in the front first, then we slip the stitch over. Then we put the yarn to the back. Now what that does is it wraps that stitch there, right? And now we're going to knit the next stitch. Okay, then we put the yarn to the front, slip that stitch, put the yarn to the back. That wraps that stitch, and then we're going to knit. So we just continue across. And we're slipping purlwise, we're not slipping knitwise. All right, now the last one is just a repeat of 2 stitches over and over. So it's a cast on of an even number of stitches. I have 10 here. You could do 20, whatever you want to do. Now I have to go to the front again and slip with a stitch purlwise, and that's it. Yep, it might look weird. That's okay. So we're going to turn it on the wrong side. On needles, you're constantly turning, so if you're not working in the round, you always have a right side and a wrong side. In some patterns, the wrong side is the correct way they want you to do it. Not this time. Okay, on a loom, the front side here, this is the right side. It's always going to be in front. You don't ever work backward and look at it backwards. So you have to kind of flip your stitches here, and we'll talk about that in a second. But it's actually faster, or it's actually a 1-row repeat on the knitting loom. Okay, so I just want you to see the difference. So now we're going to go on the wrong side, and the second row, or the wrong side row, is purl 1. So I'm going to put my needle in the front of the stitch for purl. I'm going to take my yarn and do a yarn over. and pull through for a purl stitch. Now I need my yarn to go to the back because it's actually going to be residing in the front of the work, and I'm going to slip that stitch purlwise, and then I put my yarn to the front again because I need to purl. So that's the repeat, and we just repeat that the whole way over. We're going to purl, put the yarn to the back, slip that stitch, put the yarn to the front to purl. Okay, and just keep going across. I'm doing this hurriedly because I want to get to the loom part too. All right, this is the last stitch coming up here. We got the purl stitch, and then we need to put the yarn to the back, okay, which is actually the right side of the work, and then slip that stitch, and then we turn to the front, and we just completed that. So wherever you see these little bumps here, this is not a purl bump, this is that slipped stitch. So it's just hanging out in front of here, right? So it's going to be drawn up and more dense of a fabric. Do you see how that's pretty dense here? Okay. All right, so that is this is a linen stitch, okay? And if you're just catching me, the YouTube live did not work. It's an app issue, and there was an update today, and apparently my phone does not like it. Every time I turn the phone, it went wonky and froze. So I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have this up on YouTube later. Okay, so we just did this linen stitch on the needles. You saw it was a 2-row repeat. It's an even number of stitches. I'm going to do the same here. I had actually cast it on in long tail cast on and started this same stitch. So I actually am using 10 stitches here, just like I've got 10 stitches here. All right, you can see the stitch coming out. We're going to start the first row, and it's the same thing. We're going to knit. So I'm just going to put my yarn in the front like this. I'm going to work around to the back. This is a U-wrap, okay? So it's going around the front to the back, and I'm going to lift up and over, okay? That's knit 1. Then we're going to slip with the yarn in front. So I'm going to put my yarn to the front. Now, normally when you do this, you would pick this up, then you would lay the yarn to the back here so that it lays in the front of the work. Okay, so it lays down in here. Here is a hack. Kimberly Kerrigan, I'll give her credit for it because she's the one I saw do it. This is the hack. You do it like a purl stitch. If you know the purl stitch, you go grab your hook and pull up the yarn from below the existing stitch, and don't pull it off. Just go right over this loop here, this loop right here that you just made. Just go flip it over the peg. Watch this. I'm going to pull it and pop it, and it does exactly the same thing. Isn't that awesome? Okay, if you don't get how awesome that is, I don't know. I'm going to have to do that again. Okay, let's repeat it. Okay, I'm going to go around here to make that unit stitch. Okay, I know that I have someone new on here, so I'm definitely going slow right now. So this is just for Jennifer and new people. So we're going around like a unit stitch, U-wrap stitch, okay? And then we lift up and over, and that gives us that stitch. Now we're going to do the slip with the yarn in front, and we're going to do the hack. Okay, ready? We're going to make sure our yarn is below that stitch. We're going to pull up a little loop. Then we're just going to let it pop over that peg and pull it. Ta-da! I mean, that is awesome. Give me some love. Do you guys like that? What are your thoughts? Are you excited about that? Have you seen it before? I mean, really, that's pretty cool. I'm not having to do much work at all, really. Oh, look at all these hearts coming across. I love it. It really is awesome. Okay, so now it's actually easier on the loom here. So this last one, still slip with the yarn in front. Yes, I know, it's the last stitch. You just pull it and it pops down below, right? And then we just go around again. Make sure that yarn is on top of the stitch, go around. And we're just gonna go in the reverse order here. Knit 1. I mean, it's really the same order, you're just going in the opposite direction here. And then we're going to slip with the yarn in front. So what it does is it shifts it over, okay? Put that yarn back there, pop it. That's so cool. I mean, I'm just saying, it's really cool. So yeah, it makes it so much easier. So much easier. So that is it. Now, There are a couple of other schools of thought. People want to do a turning peg. Now, if you do the turning peg, what that does is it actually makes this little bitty edging detail. You don't have to have it. Okay, first of all, did I slip that one? Yeah. So you don't have to have a turning peg, but if you are going to have a turning peg, you need to not add one stitch, you're going to add 2 stitches. And what that looks like is, I'll show you this here. So like if I was going to slip this stitch here, then I would have another peg here, and I would actually have another peg here. And so the end stitch would always be a knit stitch. Okay, and then and so that gets that nice little edge on it. And then when you go back this way, turning peg means that you actually aren't working that first peg. So you just had something on it, and then when you begin, you just start on the very next peg. And so then you work all the way to the end, knit that stitch, and then you would not work it the next time, and you just start on the next one. So what that does is it actually will create like this other little edging on the outside of here. So anyway, have these little bumps as part of it. This little bump here is that slipped part of the stitch. And then if you do it with the turning peg, it looks a little bit different. It has like sort of this half column. That's what I think it looks like. So anyway, I hope that was helpful for you guys. I can do that again. Does anyone want to see the needles again while we're on here? Or do you have any questions? I'm going to go through and look at some of the comments. Let's see. Let's start this again. I'm going to do one more here. Let's slip with the yarn in front. I see Robin just joined us, so I'm going to do this again. Hey, Robin, this is slip with the yarn in front. Just purl up a loop, put it over that peg, pull it, and it pops it back behind. So you don't have to lift that up and then place it back down again. And then you just knit your stitch and continue on. So it is just a 2-stitch, 1-row repeat. Okay. It's so cool, right? I mean, really, that's pretty darn cool. So this is a great way to test out stitches. I actually like using this little loom with a really big yarn so I can kind of test those things out. Yeah, pretty cool, pretty great. Here we go. Angie says, oh, I wish I'd used that hack when I made the blanket. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a really cool hack. Let's see. Super cool. Angie says, love, you're so tickled by the hack. Lorna says, I know, right? Hi, Rosie. Hey, Joanne says, I love how easy it is to slip stitch with that method. Allison says, I use that hack too. I love it. Makes it easier. It's so awesome, right? So one of the things though, just if you're just joining me, one of the things that I was not happy to see is that there was some videos out there that say that they are the linen stitch, when in fact they are a modified version of that, where they put an E-wrap row between a row like this, and that is not going to work because it will curl. You're adding stockinette to it, and it is a different look and could be very cool. So that's nothing against the person. I'm just saying that it's just not quite exactly the linen stitch from Needles, if that makes sense. So my desire is that you guys know how to translate those stitches over. And I mean, yeah, we can embellish things all we want, but I don't want to mislead anybody and say something is not. I mean, if I can help it, if I can give you the answer. I certainly didn't like her having it curl because she was very frustrated, and that's not fun. I want you to love your stitches, right? I want you to be happy with what your work looks like and not frustrated. And then we can just like loom along, zoom along, right? So does anybody want to see that on the needles again? Let's see, Maurice. Hey, Maurice, how are you? We are working this on the loom, and then I just showed it on the needles. Here's that hack. That's slipping with the yarn in front and knitting and slipping with the yarn in front, and it gets a really cool look. And really a beginner could do that very easy and have a really cool look. I mean, that's a great looking scarf. Yeah, definitely a keeper as far as stitches go. Hey Gina, I see you hopping on. Well, I am so glad you guys joined me. That is, I think that is it for today's stuff. And if you have any more questions or comments, please be sure and comment down in the link below. I'm so glad that you joined me, and wish you well. Have a great and wonderful weekend. Be sure and watch out for new videos coming up on technique tutorials on our YouTube channel. We've got videos coming out every Sunday, Monday, and Friday on YouTube for your knitting and looming pleasure. Thank you so much. You guys have a great day, and happy knitting and crochet. Bye, everyone.